We're looking at a raised garden bed here that I planted, replanted I should say, a few weeks ago. Now the chili plant was in here early springtime and you can see it's only just started setting fruit. This is its first year. In fact, it needs to be staked up because it's leaning over. Something I've got to attend to. Now we transplanted a pumpkin here. I'm trying to remember the variety. Here we go. We've got the label here. Now this was on its way out because I left it in a pot for too long, folks. It's a buttercup. Buttercup pumpkin. That's what we've got growing here. And you can see it's just kicked on. See all the new growth on the tip there? So the roots, that's telling me that the roots have taken to the soil, because prior to that, this is all the old growth, and look at it, it's already dried out. So that was dried like this before we planted it in here. So that's taken off really well. Now we're missing a few spots here to planting, which we can do. And there's a cucumber here that's a late planter, and a zucchini as well. Now this bed here, we didn't top up, if I remember correctly. No, we did actually, we did top it up, and it had sunken down again already. So this has got a top up. And I'm going to propose today that we do another top up on another garden bed, because so many emails coming in asking about raised beds and garden beds and how to top them up and what do I do to prepare a bed for the new season. So we're in the last month of summer. We've got 4 weeks of glorious, hopefully summer days, and then we're going to kick into autumn, which we should be preparing ourselves to get our autumn winter crop. So let's go prepare a raised bed, getting it ready for next month's planting. This is a bed that I prepared a long time ago, and we grew some onions and beetroot. And this is an eggplant that I transplanted in here from another bed that started to show signs of insect attack. So I'm just going to lift it out of here because you can see the bed is actually lowered a lot. So the soil, which used to be up here one time ago, has sunken down, and we've gone through all this before. This is what happens when you've got active soil full of microbial activity, and composting creatures as well, like worms and others. You'll find that it will start to break down and sink over time. And plus we've got straw at the bottom of it. If you haven't seen me build a bed before, I'm going to do this one, but I'm going to top this one up. And if you haven't seen it from scratch, do look it up on I think mainly on our YouTube channel, where you'll be able to see raised beds, how I build a bed from scratch and to get it to a result where it's at this stage ready for topping up again. And along the journey, you'll see all the wonderful plants that we've grown in them and the success we've had. So we really haven't had any failures through the whole growing process. You get the odd occasion insect attack here and there, but nothing too bad. And the only thing that happens with these beds is that they sink over time. And that's a good thing. Now, the way I top this up is straw, cocoa, compost and planting mix on top, and then I finish with straw. So that's what we've got here. Now what I'm going to do is put a layer, I'm going to leave it as it is, I'm going to put a layer of cocoa pith over the top of this, then add my compost and planting mix on top, and then finally our activated mulch to cover it over like a blanket. 2 bags of cocoa to start with. Now this stuff here is an excellent moisture retention medium, plus it allows good airflow at the same time. So even though it holds its moisture, it doesn't compact down like soil does in garden beds, or clay I should say, things like that. This will contain the moisture, and that's what we want. So we're doing a lasagna effect here, folks. We've got our active medium map below. Now, if you didn't see the video, I urge you to go and look at it, because under here, we've got hundreds, if not thousands of worms activated. And in a handful of it, we can get at least 20 to 25 worms guaranteed in a handful. You know what? Stop talking about it. Let's have a look at it. They better not prove me wrong. Worms, worms, worms. Look, it's been a hot day today, so maybe not as far up the top as we'd like. There, see? You only saw one, but there's so many falling through my hands here. Let's go again. They're in there. Look, there are plenty of worms in here, folks. Yeah. Actually, they're deeper. I just saw them down here. There. See them? See how quickly they're squiggling away? All them. So there is life in here. Cover that over, and I did disturb them just to show you, and that's what you want underneath there going on. So this is a raised bed, and you can have the same environment created in your garden bed. Compost. Now we top dress it with a couple of bags of compost. Now I did have these bags in the hot sun for a couple of days, folks, more than a couple of days. That's why it's a little bit dry. So we're going to have to add water to this. Now this part can take a little while, folks, especially when it's dehydrated like this. It's my bad because I left it out there, and it's going to take a couple of goes to get the water to penetrate through. You can see how it's pulling up on top because we've got a lot of water tension or surface tension from the dehydration, but once it cracks through like an old dried out sponge and it starts absorbing, well, hold your horses because the thing's going to come to life. So this has had 2 or 3 applications of water and a little bit of a scratch around with the garden rake, and we've got it to penetrate through. So now it's hydrating, not completely all the way through. You can see it's still a bit dry underneath, but a lot better than what it was earlier, folks. And that's what you've got to do with your garden bed. Now remember, if you're building it from scratch, make sure you add the water on every layer unless it's already hydrated. For example, our cocoa pith that we laid just below before, that was already moist. That didn't need to be hydrated. What that is doing now, any water that gets through is getting captured in the cocoa as well and keeping the moisture there and the porosity there so it breathes, because you want it to be aerobic, not anaerobic. Aerobic bacteria, good microbes and fungi, or bacteria and fungi is what you want activating in here, and the good organic composting creatures like your butchie boys and your worms. See how it's all gone, the water? So we've activated it, so that's important. And you want the moisture there, because if you put 3 or 4 layers on top and build it up 200 or 300 millimeters, 30 centimeters, even higher for raised beds that I'm referring to, and you don't hydrate it underneath there, you'll be watering only the first 4 inches if you're lucky on top, on the surface. And by the time it gets down below, it'll be dry. You won't get the moisture in there unless you flood it for hours on end. That's me telling you from experience. And sometimes you'll find it'll find cracks and crevices in the soil because it's so dry. It'll find little cracks and openings where it'll run through like a little stream away from where it's meant to be hydrated, especially as a raised bed, because we got these slats, horizontal slats, and water can, if it was at this level here or even the next level down, if the water finds the side wall to go down to, it'll just pour out of these the joints between the slats there, and that's not what you want to see happening. You want it to be absorbing it like a sponge does to hydration. Beautiful. That's what we want. Done. Planting mix now. This stuff here is the magic medium for all plant life, folks. I've tried a lot of varieties in this stuff and they have thrived in it. And I'm not referring to orchids or succulents. I'm talking veggies and flowering plants, herbs, flowers, trees, fruit trees, ornamental trees, all those varieties, all those common veggie and garden and flowering garden varieties. I've used this planting mix, and if you've never tried it, well, you are missing out. We're soon going to have our labels on the bags and get them out to all good garden centres as well. Not yet, so don't go knocking on their doors. So this stuff here, for those who've never used it, has compost, cocoa, superfood, black grit, cow manure, a little bit of chicken manure, charcoal, and rice hulls. I may have missed something there. Worm castings, that's the other one. It's also got worm castings in it. So it is nothing but a bag of life, and your plants will thank you with wonderful flowers, fruit and veggies. Now this one is moist, but we are still going to hydrate it because we like to get extra water in there. And we know the compost underneath there has been hydrated, but it's going to suck a little bit of the moisture out of the top too. So, as we did with every layer before, besides the cocoa, because that was already wet, we hydrated. And yes, for those who are asking the question now, folks, you can hydrate your garden bed before you start as well, which is something I didn't do this time because I did water earlier. And when you saw when I dug it up, it was quite moist underneath there as well. So, and you can see how the water's not really pulling up here. It's soaking right through. That's what you want to see happening at the end. Now, that's the layering effect. I could walk away now, and I reckon a lot of you would too, and say, okay, that's ready for planting, which it is in fact. You can plant straight away if you like, or you can let it sit there and just activate. All it's going to do is start to network. There are no root systems in there for them to draw down on. I'm not talking about the microbes. So there's no root systems from plants in there. Let me be clear. So the microbes really won't proliferate. The worms will, the composting creatures will be there. What we need to do is protect them. We can't leave this like this exposed in the sun. This will dehydrate, it will heat up, and it will kill the first 2 to 3 inches, 50 to 75 mil, if not 100 mil of life that exists in there, because it'll get up to a high temperature to the level where it dehydrates. And as you know, if we don't hydrate, what happens? Exactly. And we cover it with our straw. Now this straw isn't your usual straw that you get at your local garden centre, folks, because if you sold or bought something like this, you would be sending it right back thinking it's gone off. Well, in fact, this hasn't. This is activated. What I've done here, this is the leftovers of the full wheelbarrow of our bean straw, and you can use any type of straw you like. Pea straw, sugarcane mulch, lucerne. I find the sugarcane and the lucerne are very fine, light, and they break down too quickly for me. Pea straw, not bad, pretty good actually, and that bean straw is what I use here. So what I've done here is I filled up the wheelbarrow with bean straw, then I added our Eco Butch and Liquid Gold. Now there's something you haven't heard me say for a while. They're the two liquid fertilizers that I applied in here, filled it up with water, and I let it sit there, and you can see there's life. All the insects are starting to nest in here because they find it beautifully rich. And even the dogs will lean over into here and drink some of the liquids in there. So that tells you there's got to be some good life in there. Well, not for us to drink, but great for the garden bed. So this has sat around for a few weeks, inoculated, it become activated. And that now, as I added to this garden bed, all this is going to do is tell every living creature in the mix below, hey guys, there's a new party in town, because all the good stuff is on top. That's activated. That's going to proliferate your microbial life in the soil and everything else on top of it. So when you come to plant in here, whether it's straight away or in 3 or 4 weeks, which is a great way to do this, they're going to thrive. And we're going to do it because it's here for the planting, and we're going to come back and visit it like we've done with all the other garden beds. And you're lucky it's not smell-o-vision, because it stinks. Oh. This is where I recommend those who've got a weak stomach to put on a gas mask and some gloves if you like, because yeah, it's a bit hard on the nose, and if you don't like touching it, well, put some gloves on. There you go, folks. I don't have to water this in, as you can see it's already hydrated. So preparing your garden beds, for those who've never done it before, who've just forgotten how to do it, or want more tips and advice, this is how I do my garden beds. Now, the same principle applies to garden beds flat on the ground. Obviously, you don't have to go as thick because you can end up raising it too high, but the layering effect. So whatever's existing on your garden bed, most important thing is to actually have mulch on top of there as well. And if you need to top it up, leave the mulch there and then start layering it. Cocoa, compost, planting mix, and activated mulch on top. You can get our products, our planting mix, cocoa and compost online, vasiliesgarden.com. Check out our stockist page. You'll find a lot of garden centres are already stocking our planting mix bags and things like that. Otherwise, we've got a great triple pack deal going on at the moment for pickup only. So go to our website, vasiliesgarden.com, and take advantage of some of the great sales that we have every day. From me, Vasily, Maresi, the smell's getting to me. Bugger me, with all the excitement, we forgot to plant the eggplant. Poor little soul sitting out there waiting. All right, let's get underneath here and see what's going on. Okay, we've got plenty of life in here, folks. It's already looking good. Look at this. It's already forming beautifully. Look at that. Haven't had it in here for more than 5 minutes, and it's already come to life. All right, I need a shower now.